Welcome to the family with
Mike Gelfand.
Tony Deo.
And Tim Slagle.
And Andy Brant Bernard.
You notice, by the way, I pointed out on the first show, the show now has Timmy, Tony, and Tommy. What do you think?
I think it's one T too many.
That's one T. That's one T.
I'm not pointing any fingers.
Yeah, but he does this. It's one T too many.
Well, the TTT is a lot better than the KKK. Just ask my dad, who grew up in Tulsa.
God, was there a big KK in
Huge.
Huge, really?
Yeah. Well, they pretty much ruled. My dad was born in 1922, so
Okay.
you know what happened in Tulsa in 1921. That was the worst race massacre in the history of the country.
Oh, I did not know that.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't teach that in history class when we were
They-
kids.
Oh,
No, they didn't.
I don't think my dad knew about it.
Really?
Or was not talked about. Yeah.
So it was all, who were they massacring? The nice
Well,
Jewish kids?
the white folks burned down all the black homes and businesses.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Tulsa had the Black Wall Street, I think they called it.
Yeah.
It was the most prosperous black neighborhood in the country at the time.
Really? And they burned it.
They burned it down, and
Oh,
no one, of course, was ever arrested or
Wow.
anything. My dad, my dad never told me much about growing up in Tulsa, but when his dementia got really bad, he started to talk about it more.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the few things he could remember.
I suppose.
Couldn't remember what happened yesterday, but he could remember what happened 70 years
That's
ago.
kind of welded in your head. There's no question.
And he told me that the Klan the sons of the Klansmen would beat him up almost every day because
Every day.
Well, pretty much. My dad was he was basically just like me. 5'7", probably weighed about 110 in
Yeah, but
high
you had
school.
Goldberg. Where the hell was he?
Yeah, I know.
Your
That's
cousin.
the weird thing. My cousin Goldberg, and who of course was. I think he's still wrestling, isn't he?
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, and he is like 6'4" and about 250.
Oh, 250, weighs about 300.
Well,
Guy's
yeah.
a solid muscle.
Solid muscle, which may or may not have been natural, but that's not the point.
Well, yeah, that's a different argument.
Well, Goldberg, a very famous sort of wrestler type, performer, really. So he came into the studio one day. I had never met him, but I knew he was like my third cousin.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he came into the studio, and I introduced myself, and I said, we're cousins. I said, my dad grew up in Tulsa, and he said, the only thing he ever said to me was, "What a shithole." I didn't know where to go from there.
No, there's nowhere to go.
No.
You're absolutely right.
So that was Goldberg. Yeah, that's what it was like. So the sons of the Klanners would pound him. Yeah. And my dad also had the indignity of not only being the littlest kid in the class anyway, but he skipped 2 grades.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got this guy. I don't even think he weighed 110, and he's 2 years younger than people in his class.
Right.
And they probably, it doesn't sit well.
Your family and my family went through that. Not many, because I graduated high school 2 years early.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Same with Catherine. My wife graduated 1 year early.
Yeah.
I think I graduated 2 years early because they just wanted me to get the hell out of
Well, I
school.
was thinking,
Yeah, I think that's
They
what
should-
actually did happen.
I was trying to get that effect myself.
Yeah, well,
They don't move kids ahead anymore, do they?
I don't
Not
think so.
I haven't even heard of it. And
It's very difficult now.
Yeah, it's because it presents a lot of problems for
Yeah.
kids.
Like what?
Well,
Getting into radio?
well, just like being resented and not really fitting in.
no.
Well,
not
you can be as
resentment.
academically inclined as you want, but if you're 2 years younger than everyone else, you're going to be less mature.
Yeah,
And
it's
that causes a rift.
Except
for
for
sure.
me, I was very mature.
Right, but by the same token, if you already have it, 5th grade figured out, why make you sit through it?
Yeah.
well.
Why not?
true.
But why not put you into something that's a little more, equal with your ability, to understand? It's
Yeah.
one thing that I thought of a little while ago is that when you think of the short bus, you don't think of the smart kids.
No,
No.
that's true.
But there is, just like there is, a small population that have to be that aren't smart enough to be on the big bus. There is also in
Mhm.
every school a population that's so smart that they should also be on a short bus.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a beef of mine that there's no short buses for the geniuses.
Well, and now
No,
they have
true.
like they have the I don't know what they call them these days, but the gifted kids or whatever you want to
Yep.
call them. So like my oldest son, somehow he managed to be like 3 times smarter than me. I don't know how he did it.
Well, I don't think it's that tough.
It's
That's your wife's DNA.
oh no.
It goes, oh no.
This is the one time that joke doesn't work.
So, there you go.
So but so basically, he went to St. Louis Park High School. So he went to a public school, but it was more like a private school for that group of kids because they were always in the same classes.
Yeah.
And they basically didn't know many people
Your
outside.
dad went to St. Louis Park?
No, no, I'm talking about my
I
son.
was going to say St. Louis.
No, my dad went to
down in Oklahoma. That's right.
Tulsa Central.
Tulsa Central?
Yeah, that's what he called it. Which is funny because there's no center in Tulsa.
No, there's not.
No, it's
There's what I remember from Tulsa is the Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts.
Oh, is he big down there?
It's the
Prayer
world
Tower.
headquarters. The
Oh,
prayer
the prayer tower.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, my favorite is the praying hands.
Yeah.
There's 2 giant bronze hands clasped into prayer
Yeah.
in the middle of Oral Roberts University. I think it's got a different name now. And what people in Tulsa say that originally those hands were open to God,
Mhm.
but then one day $1 blew by and they broke.
Oh, there you go. I like it.
Boom.
I like it. Had to catch that money flowing through, babe. Well, there's no money in religion. What do you mean? My God. What was that guy's name? Jimmy Swaggart?
Mhm.
Didn't
Yeah.
he get nailed
Oh,
for
yeah. Well, yeah.
moving a little money around in the church?
Yeah.
A little.
Jim Baker.
A little.
Jim Baker, that was the one who had the
Jim
water slide for
Baker.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
water's-
his wife was such a pleasant person too,
What do you mean?
Tammy Faye.
What do you mean?
Well, she was she was a nice person though.
But he ended up in Rochester.
Had
at the-
eyes like
Mhm.
Venus flytraps, that
Yeah.
woman.
she
Yeah,
did,
well,
yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't see the movie,
No, I didn't see the movie. She died a few years ago, didn't
yeah,
she?
not that long ago, yeah.
Wasn't that long
And
ago.
she grew up in Duluth, as I recall.
And that's right, she did. You're
Yeah.
absolutely.
So she had
did.
a lot of that Minnesota nice in her.
And she was really good at bursting into tears.
Oh yeah.
When it was necessary, she was great at bursting into tears.
Well, being married to that guy, it
Well,
probably became pretty natural.
God, am I glad Catherine's not here. Yeah, I think she's the only one bursting into tears. Yes, dear. Whatever you say. Okay, we got to get the information out about the shows tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday.
Yep. 8 tonight, 7 and 9:30 Friday and Saturday. It's Crash and Burn. It's a live comedy writing experiment. And tonight after the show, you can actually stick around and write with the comics on stage. So
That's pretty good.
that's a participatory experience tonight.
At Acme.
AcmeComedyCompany.com, 612-338-6393 if you do it old school.
So, this is a good crowd to ask these questions. There's no question about it. Were you, okay, you became a comedian. Were you driven from, or at what age were you driven to do comedy? And what was the reason for that?
I think I always wanted to be a comedian.
Time you were like a 2-year-old.
Real little kid. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. From as soon as I can remember, from the day I got my first little tape recorder. I would do bits on it with
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've always wanted, and it wasn't, what I thought at the time that it was kind of like, like I want to be a cowboy or a fireman or an astronaut, that it was that kind of a childhood dream. And it wasn't until that I approached my 20s that I go, gosh, I actually could be a comedian. And then it just so happened that the comedy explosion in America happened at the same time that I had started experimenting with open mic nights, and I was just fortunate enough to catch that wave.
See, that's very cool. Tony, how about you? How did you get in?
Yeah, I started late. I was at teaching school in Austin, Texas when I first started.
Yep.
And I started when I was 28. But I had loved comedy for so long. It was always kind of in the back of my mind that I wanted to try it.
Was there something about your family that drove you both to comedy?
I love laughter.
Yeah.
I didn't have a traumatic childhood, or there's that theory that comedians are all messed up or something. I don't fit.
Why are you
that.
looking at me when you say that?
I don't fit that mold. I had my childhood was fine. I just love comedy, and I love hearing people laugh at things I thought of.
Because the reason I asked you those questions is the reason I got into comedy was the only time my father ever made contact with me. If I would tell him a joke, then he would pay attention to me.
Mm.
Otherwise he wouldn't do that.
Wow.
And then I also was driven to, and the reason I graduated 2 years early, I guess, is because I was driven to read as much as I possibly could, because my father was schizophrenic and he was institutionalized in a mental institution, all the rest of it. I wanted to find out as much as I could in life to avoid that happening to me.
Mhm.
So I did a lot of reading about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So not everybody's always driven to do what we do, but in some cases we definitely are. There's no question.
I failed into the morning show.
You failed into it? That was my fault. So you became a friend with me and you considered that to be a failure.
Well, no, it came next, but
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. No question about it. Do you guys find generally, because I don't think I have, that there's a funny person? You would think everybody in their family's funny, but they're not.
oh God, my dad had when he died, he had a full head of hair.
Right.
And I always said that comedy and hair skipped generations.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, you got a nice little fluff right here.
My dad had no. He didn't know what comedy was, and he would flail. He would try to be one
Right.
of the guys, but he couldn't because he just didn't know what was funny. So if I said to him something like, let's say I said, "Hey, Dad, what do they call 10 dead lawyers?" And of course, the punchline is a good start.
A good
right?
start, right?
And then my dad would respond with 12 dead lawyers.
Yeah. I got to up the grade here.
That's even funnier.
That's even funnier and more important.
Let me write that down, Dad. Yeah.
Here's something interesting. I was adopted and
okay.
did not meet my biological family. My biological mom married my biological dad after they got rid of me,
Really?
Wow.
and I had 5 full sisters.
So we go, oh, that's over. Thank God.
Yes, we got that one out of the way. Let's get married.
That's it. How old were you when you found out that you were adopted?
I always knew.
Oh, even time a little
It
kid?
was, yeah. I never, as a little kid, I never
Okay.
asked about the facts of life, because where do babies come from? Well, the adoption center.
Yeah. That's where they come from.
That's what I thought. I remember a little Christmas card, and it was the birth of Jesus, and there was like a moonlight shining through the window, and Mary and Joseph praying, and then the Christ was there.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, that's what they do. It's the nuns at the adoption home. They open a window so the moonlight comes in.
Sure.
And they make a little bed, and the light comes in. That's what I thought until I was like 26.
So do you think the fact that you were kind of left behind by your true
Well,
family?
here's
what drove
here's the fascinating part of the story is about 25 years ago is Lewis's wife decided that I should meet my biological mother.
Really?
And
Louis the
Louis
Acme
Lee,
guy.
yeah.
Huh.
Really?
And when she found out I was adopted, she just said, he's got to meet his mother.
Ooh.
And she just kept pestering me. Finally, I just handed all the paperwork I had. Took her about 2 weeks.
Really?
Wow.
Huh.
And I met my biological mom. I met my biological dad and 5 full sisters. And here's the interesting thing: is that my dad was doing stand-up comedy.
No way.
Really?
I had never met him. We grew up on
That's
opposite
amazing.
sides of Detroit. He had been doing
Ooh.
stand-up comedy for several years.
Well, look at all those, like the U of M has done all those studies on
Mhm.
identical twins separated
Yeah.
at birth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where they go. It doesn't
It's
matter
weird, isn't it?
what kind of environment they have. They wind up being just the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was not only a stand-up comedian, and we
Really?
both worked for the same agent in Michigan. And he was
Man.
also county chair of the Libertarian Party. And we had mutual friends in comedy and
No way.
in the Libertarian Party
Wow.
that had never
my
never
God.
put
What was
that
his name?
together. He never went anywhere. It was
Ah.
Don Taube.
Okay.
He never.
Well, I mean, a libertarian comic has no future. Let's face it.
Oh, let me tell you about it.
Let me tell you about it.
I'm sorry, my liberalism just creeped out.
Not you.
No,
Oh, that never
le-
creeps out.
Leftism.
Mm.
Libertarians can call themselves liberals. It's you're a leftist.
It's okay. Yeah, I don't mind that.
It's a different deal.
Anyone that supported the lockdowns through the pandemic has no right to call themselves a liberal.
There you go.
There you have it.
I'm not.
ladies and
I'm not
gentlemen.
stepping into that one.
You started it.
Tony, keep an eye on the door, will you?
Yeah.
Keep an eye on the door.
It remains open.
And now back to the show. But no, I mean that kind of stuff amazes me. That your father was a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, isn't that great?
And you had no idea who he was.
No idea. All my sisters, we all have the same sense of humor.
Mm.
Same exact sense of humor. One thing that I thought was funny when I was a kid is that when my parents, when I hear the car drive up, I would hide in the closet. So when they opened the closet door, I'd be standing there with a hanger and say, "Can I take your coat, sir?" And of course, they I'd get a wonderful reaction, and so I would do it a lot. And every time my mom would say, "Timothy, I don't know where you got that from." And the first time I met my sister, she came over to the house, and my wife was driving up in the driveway coming home from work, and my sister goes, "Is that Kathy?" I go, "Yeah," and she goes, "Let's hide." So there you
Pretend we're
go.
not home. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a holder because I be honest with you, and I don't need to hear the smart ass response. Well, so that carried on for another generation because I can hear it coming. But literally, my family was not funny. I mean, they just, like I said, they had all these different. My mother tried to be funny, but she wasn't. My father was never funny. I guess my sisters, they had a sense of humor about it. I don't know why it was a trap. I think because the only contact I would ever get from my father is if I told him a joke.
Did he ever tell you jokes?
Never. Oh God,
Wow.
no.
But
Never.
he understood the humor.
He did understand the humor. He
Yeah.
liked humor. So I would literally, every time I talked to him, I would tell him a joke. Otherwise, he wouldn't talk to me. So I guess I was driven to it. And now you can throw in the part, well, so it carried on from one, generation to another. So he wasn't funny. And I saw the look in your eye.
Not me. Not me. I want to be invited back.
I'm always fascinated by how we get to where we are by what we've been through. That stuff fascinates me to no end. The fact that you found out your father doing the same thing you had no clue.
No clue.
That's amazing.
I remember in grade school, we were supposed to all write down. It was like about fifth grade. We were all supposed to write down, what we wanted to do when we grew up.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
And I came home and I told my mother, not my dad, but my mother about this. And she said, "Oh, well, I assume you said lawyer, right?"
Mhm.
My mom wanted me to be a lawyer.
Yeah, of course.
I said, "No, I want
A
to be
Jewish lawyer. I never heard of that.
I said, I wanted to be a comedian."
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in the class who aspired to be a comedian. But so, yeah, that was a very early age. I think the first time, I think I felt that way. Like, we didn't have, that was not an era growing up of great comedy. Although my mother did go to see Lenny Bruce when he came to town.
Oh, there you
Wow.
go.
So she was kind of hip to that kind of stuff. Most of the time she was in bed. But when she'd put aside the barbiturates for a couple of days, and then she'd go see Lenny Bruce. So she
Should have brought some of the barbiturates you might have gotten backstage.
Oh,
that's a terrible thing to say.
Looking back at Lenny Bruce, he was one of the first people that I was thinking about why he was doing what he was doing, because he was on, I don't even remember what it was. And of course, he used gentler language until he got on stage, but he would tell these jokes about how he would get up in the middle of the night and he didn't want to go to the bathroom, so he'd just piss in the sink.
Oh,
and he
right.
did this whole, remember that?
Sure, and what he said
Yeah.
metaphorically was, well, everybody's pissed in the sink at one time.
That's
or another.
exactly what he got around to.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a whole bit about the fact that he didn't want to go all the way to the bathroom, so he just pissed in the sink.
Well, maybe it wasn't a metaphor. Maybe.
Maybe it was not. But to think about a kid thinking about something like that. So you've been carrying this with you your whole life, and you're finally telling the story on stage about pissing in the sink. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of place did he live where the sink wasn't right next to the
Yeah,
toilet?
I was gonna say the bathrooms.
I think he's talking about the kitchen sink.
Huh?
He was close.
He had
to
to
the
walk
kitchen
past
and
the kitchen to get to the
get to the
bathroom.
Well, his
bathroom,
mother
yeah.
was a stripper, so chances are
His mother was a
they
stripper.
moved a lot.
Yeah, probably.
Well, what I'm thinking is the first dorm I lived in when in college had a sink in the room,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
then it had a lavatory at the end
Down
of the
the
hall.
hall, yeah.
So I imagine that sink was pissed in a lot.
You don't remember it because you were drinking.
In
but-
college? Well, yeah,
Oh,
but it was an real old dorm. So I wonder if boarding houses. He grew up like in a boarding house where they had the sink in the room, and
Yeah, probably could be.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of my ancestors, of course, came to this country at the turn of the century, and they wound up living in a tenement where, you know, like 40 people shared a bathroom
Oh
at the end
God,
of the
yes,
hall.
absolutely.
Wow.
I remember living downtown when I was a little kid. It was a nice place. It wasn't some dump, but there was like one shower per floor.
Yeah.
It's like, what
Wow.
the hell?
I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood, so there were a lot of places in my neighborhood where 40 people
Yeah,
were
yeah.
sharing one bathroom.
Well, and that,
There you
They
go.
were called single family homes.
Yeah, exactly.
and those Catholics, I grew up, you know, I grew up Cretin Avenue in St.
Sure,
Paul,
sure.
and that part of Cretin, it was mostly a Catholic neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
But you could never, like, if you could never pick a fight with someone in school because they probably had 6 brothers who were, you know, 30 years old.
Oh
Mm,
yeah. Oh yeah. My family, 7 kids and 25 years. I think were the separation. My oldest brother, my youngest brother, I think they were 25 years apart. in
Wow.
age.
Man.
So they never lived in the same house.
No,
No.
no, they did not, because my brother Terry was in the Marine Corps over in Vietnam when Troy
Yeah.
was born. So
I think I'm going to have a kid in 23 years.
another kid, you can have another kid in 23 years.
60. Yeah. It's sounds like a good idea to me.
Well, I mean, that was the whole situation.
Well, you know, I have a good friend who's didn't get along. He had like, I think he had 8 or 9 siblings,
oh God.
and
So Catholic again.
yeah, Catholic,
Okay,
yeah.
Shock.
And then his dad, like when he couldn't produce any more children with his wife, he got divorced.
Mhm.
And then his dad was like 70 and he married a younger woman, and then he had a kid then. So he had this baby. He was
Oh,
70.
God. 70
Wow.
years old.
70.
And I'm walking down the sidewalk in Dinkytown one day. I knew his dad pretty well. And I see his dad coming, and he's pushing a stroller. And so when he gets close to me, he looks up at me and he says, "Mike, don't even think about it."
Well, well, that was all stuff.
And I took him, you know, to heart. Yeah, I figured he was probably right about that.
Mhm.
My buddy Stevie's father had a little thing about it. He had a couple of sons, and he would always tell them, "Don't ever forget, keep a tight pin on your pants because it only takes one drop." I'm like, oh God, that's nasty.
What a great
Gross
father.
thing to say.
Yeah,
That is
Yeah.
a really gross thing to say.
that's closer than my parents ever got to teaching me about the birds and the bees.
Ah,
Well, no way. Yeah, that wasn't happening.
No,
at
we
not Catholic house,
we learned
not
the
a-
hard way, you know, just by, you know, talking to older kids. Now, of course, you got the internet, so they know by the time they're 8.
Oh, 8?
Well, you know, if they're slow.
If they're slow, yeah, but 3 or 4 probably be a completely different setup.
Yeah.
It just does fascinate me though, that why people get into the jobs that they get into, whether it's, you know, doing a show or doing comedy or all, because it's not an easy. You know, from day one, it's not going to be easy, right?
yeah.
I didn't.
No, you didn't. You thought it was going to be it was going to be very easy the whole
didn't.
time.
Oh
I do
yeah, yeah. No, I
Really?
dropped that. Oh yeah, I said I am 5 years from stardom. I went in full delusional.
Life's just that easy.
Yeah, yeah. The first few years went great because, like I said, that big comedy wave was coming up behind
Yeah.
me. There
Well, how
was-
old were you when you started?
Let's see. First time on stage, I was 21. First time.
Yeah,
on
that's
stage.
about the age to think like, you know,
Yeah.
I've got what it takes and I'm going to be famous.
Oh
in a few
yeah,
years.
yeah. I was delusional and immortal.
Mhm.
I was a superhero.
Well, every college student, it's like, as soon as I graduate, I'm going to go become the CEO of a big company because
Yeah.
I got this big important degree and I got a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kids are just, that's how they are.
Yeah, and like I said, this comedy wave came up behind me, and it was like from first time on stage at an open mic to making a living full time was only 3 years for me.
Wow.
So why wouldn't I think I was on the fast track? You know?
Well, that's when you stayed with it, so that all worked out in the end.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's some enthusiasm there. Now, how long will you be? So you'll be on stage tonight. What, about 4 hours or something like that, when you with the comedy and the rewrites and all the rest of it?
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, pretty close. 3
Yeah,
hours. Yeah,
3 hours.
8 to 11 probably.
Oh, 8 to 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of time to put into it. Now, what do you do when somebody's on stage with you and they're just not really contributing much? Do you just go, hey, let's wrap it up, or what do you do?
Nothing you can do. It just,
That's what I'm wondering.
I never talk to them again.
so you get through that
I
night.
just delete their number from my contacts.
All the different things I think about it, because it's been now over 50 years that I've had comedians on my shows and all the rest of it. And you see people come and go and all the rest of it. But the pandemic changed all of that. And I hated that, because my career was always people coming and going, on the shows and all the rest of it. And then for about 4 years, nobody ever showed up for anything. And I didn't like that.
Well, no, you had to talk the whole 4 hours.
Yeah, I don't want to
by yourself.
I don't even want to hear myself talk for 4 hours. I mean, that's a whole different argument. My God, but yeah, remember that? How weird that all. And the reason I suppose that even popped in my head, and maybe I'm missing something or whatever, but everybody's pissed off now because Trump was given medication for COVID to Putin. I don't understand something about that. Wasn't it right next door in China where they were kicking out all the COVID stuff anyway? So why didn't he just get it from China?
Yeah.
I don't really understand that.
With
Why?
with all the spies and KGB guys ready to kill someone if they didn't cough up.
Right.
I
That's
think
exactly what I'm saying. It's like, why did this get so discombobulated? That's weird.
I think Trump just wanted to score a few points with the guy. He probably didn't ask for it.
I wouldn't think so. I don't know, but it's just and now for that story to be breaking now, it's like, who cares if he did or he didn't? Why would I care about that?
It's October. It's October.
Because it's October
surprise.
That's all
Yep.
it is.
I suppose, yeah. That's what it is.
They've been sitting on that. How long did they sit on Hunter's laptop
Oh yeah.
before
Yeah,
they
that's true.
dropped
Well,
it?
speaking of an October surprise, did you hear where Harris's most recent rally was?
No.
The land of Azeroth, which I'm sure none of you know what that is. That is where World of Warcraft takes place.
What?
They went into World of Warcraft and they had a rally.
Wow.
Where's World of Warcraft?
It's just a game.
Video game.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Oh.
you meant there was an actual area they
No.
went into.
Yeah, I
Like,
did
what
too.
the hell?
I didn't see a map.
Well, all our rallies have been somewhat virtual, haven't they?
A lot of that's
Yeah, a lot of
becoming
them,
more of a
yeah,
thing. I
it is,
remember,
yeah.
what's her name? AOC did a lot of like Twitch rallies and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's becoming a thing. Hillary Clinton's famous line, Pokemon go to the polls.
Yeah, that's true. No question. I don't know. I've never been in a situation from the time I was a very, very little kid. Of course, when JFK got elected, that was like the end of all time because my mother was Catholic.
Sure.
So, I mean, when we got a Catholic president, boy,
Yeah.
and now there have only been two of them because I think Biden's the only other one, isn't he?
I think so.
I think.
Yeah, Biden. Yeah. And it wasn't a big deal when it was Biden, but back
No.
back in the 60s,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you know, when it
huge.
was just a few years, away from the Klan's prominence.
That's exactly
a
right.
Catholic in the White House was unheard of.
And now we're going to have, if Harris wins, we're going to have a Jew
A Jew.
just a heartbeat away because, her husband is Jewish.
Yeah, but he's busy stooping other women all
Wait,
the time.
wait.
From what I hear.
So that's the way it is now. Is when the president becomes incapacitated, it goes to the spouse.
Well,
I mean, I know that's the way it's been for the
Yes.
past 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
well,
wasn't that FDR?
I was just about to say
It's been that way
FDR.
for a long time.
Yeah,
That's true.
Eleanor certainly
Unfortunately.
ruled the roost in those days.
Yeah.
It all works out in the end, but what the hell? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that. I brought this up earlier, Mike, and I don't understand because I'm reading different headlines, and I read 4 different publications.
Mhm.
2 of them said, "Oh my God, Trump is surging like mad. He's coming on really strong." And then I read a couple other ones that are talking about, and I'm looking at one right now about how Kamala is just kicking ass, and her numbers have never looked better.
Well,
which one is it?
what happens? What happens is the on any given day, maybe Harris gains or loses half a percentage point, right?
Okay.
So that's what's known as a surge these days.
Oh, that's it. When you only lose
It's a
half a point.
surge, all
You
right.
got to
That's
have
probably true.
You got to have a headline.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And the reality, of course, is that mathematically, it's just a dead heat at this point.
I
looks like it,
I
yeah.
look at the betting pools.
Yeah, I do too.
That's for
Oh,
me.
really?
For me, I think that's the most reliable poll because it's people who actually have money in the game. Anything when
Yeah.
when a pollster
Yeah.
calls you up, you can say anything. But if you're going to put money on something,
Yeah.
you that is what you truly believe, and it's
Yeah.
and right now is Trump is up by 4 in the betting pools over the
In
average.
the betting pool.
Well, and then another good thing to look at is the stock market. In other words, Trump's stock. The Trump stock is, I can't remember the name of the parent company, but it's his company.
know.
He owns the whole thing. And so, if that stock goes way up or way down, that's a pretty good indicator.
Oh, it is too.
Yeah, and it has gone way up and it's gone way down. So
Would
just
that
like
be
everything else.
DJT?
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
Trump Media and Technology Group.
Yep.
Ooh.
So that
Catchy.
thing took a huge hit, in the last 6 months or so. But I don't know what it's like today. I'd be interested in knowing.
It seems to be climbing back up since October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, all stock is basically just gambling anyway. So
well, of course, except for the fact that if I gamble, I got to pay the juice. That's the thing. But
hey, who?
but with the stock market,
He didn't say Jews. He said Jews.
well,
Now wait a minute.
Nice Jewish boy like
Depending on
Mike.
your bookie's last name, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't say pay the Jews because I don't like to traffic in wishful thinking.
That's a good idea.
And of course, it's true. I used to go into the Lincoln Dell sometimes Monday morning when all the bookies would be sitting at a table there,
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
and they'd always say, "So, what about you, Sal?" And Sal would say, "Oh, I got hammered. I got hammered. What about you?" "Oh, it was just awful." They would never admit that they made a killing. It was always, it was just terrible.
It's
And
all
yet-
in their pocket. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but the stock itself, yeah, I think it's a good indicator. But in reality, still, it's because there's so many things that can happen in one day.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, we're not going to know who it is until it actually happens in another few weeks.
Yeah.
No, we're not even going to know until after that.
Oh,
Yeah.
until after that. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to be counting. They're going to be counting into
Mhm.
December, I think.
And then
So-
it can get really ugly too. So, oh man,
Oh,
it's
God.
not something that I look forward to.
And I get to have my birthday during that every 4 years.
Oh,
Isn't
that's
that a
right.
thrill?
Whose fault is that?
Toots.
That's right.
My mother. Typical.
Should have had more
I,
foresight.
I think your
Should've,
birthday
yeah.
isn't it on election day this year?
Is it the 7th?
No, it's the 8th, I think.
Eighth? Okay.
Or 6th. It's
Six.
the 6th
Yeah,
this
because
year.
it can't be the 8th. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's-
and once again, I don't have a birthday anymore because
It is
Andy, of
the
course,
5th.
It's the 5th.
Mhm.
Okay, so there we go.
Hmm.
Andy had a baby. It's coming up on 3 years ago, and he stole my birthday, so I don't even have a birthday. November 7th. Oh, that's right. That's Ethan's birthday. Yeah, great. That's terrific. Wonderful.
Yeah. You're second act now. You're a middle act.
Andy, you have Mike Gelfand and a couple of comedians in studio, and if you don't tell them the Ethan story about what he said to you, I think this kid's 2 years. First of all, he's 2 years old, about to turn 3, and he's muscular.
He
And
sure
how
is.
the hell does that happen?
Yeah,
jacked.
This kid's he's jacked as hell.
He's 90th percentile for both height and weight.
and he's
So
not fat
He's a
at
large
all.
child.
Okay, so
Oh yeah, he's been tipping over furniture for a year. Yeah.
Hopefully on purpose when he gets angry.
yeah, I'm sure
Oh,
that's what. it
Yep.
is.
He'll just go up to a chair and flip it over just for fun.
Did
Yeah.
Andy tell you
It's
what
great.
what his son said to him?
No.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal. It's such a Bernard thing.
Mhm. It's Dad's new favorite thing that Ethan's done.
Oh God, it's fantastic. Tell him from the beginning though.
So I was singing this song from a cartoon that he liked. He likes cartoon music just like me. And then Melissa had to leave the room for whatever reason, so he got very mad. So I tried to cheer him up by singing that song again. And he comes over to me and he says, You don't sing that crap again.
At a 2-year-old.
2 years old.
2 years old, you don't sing that crap.
I wonder where he
again.
gets that attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
And of course, I laughed, so now he says it all the time.
He's getting the
That's
laugh
his
out of you.
catchphase now.
Oh, I suppose that's true.
He's doing it in the voice of John Panette's restaurant owner too.
Yeah, there you go.
You don't sing that crap again.
I don't know that we were just talking about that earlier about people and families and having. I mean, you're so close to your boys. There's no question about it. You guys got any kids?
I have one little boy,
And how old?
just turned 11.
And how's he when you're out of town?
He's good. I don't travel as much as I used to before he was
okay.
born.
Okay.
And this is probably the longest week I've done in a while since I did a movie in March and I was gone for 2 weeks and that.
Wait a
felt
minute. What
terrible.
movie did you do?
It's an independent movie. It's not out yet, but it's called Where's George?
And who's George?
I was George.
Oh, you were George.
Yeah,
So you're the star.
I was the lead.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
When's it coming out?
They are still shopping it around.
Okay, so when
They're
they
still-
release it, you're going to come to town and
yeah.
open her up.
I'll come promote it.
So it's all finished. It's in the can, right?
There's what we have to shoot one more scene
Okay.
next month.
So it's not in post yet.
It's been mostly edited, and they needed one more scene, so
Mm.
I have to go back to Chicago and shoot it.
Oh, yeah. So during editing, they decided in one more scene.
Yep.
And it takes place in Chicago.
It does.
I love Chicago.
Is it
do
Chicago,
too.
Chicago, or is it Chicago as New York or something like that?
No, we were in Chicago, right on the lake, where we shot
Okay.
most of it.
Oh, cool.
God, you spent a lot of time down there. I love it. Has it gotten a little violent?
Not where I was. I was in
Good,
a fancy
good.
part of town.
It's by the lake.
Yeah.
That was by the lake. What are you talking about?
They don't let stuff go down by the lake.
Yeah, my agent's office was right on the lake down there in East Ohio.
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh my God, big shot. No
Mm.
question. Boy, voiceover. What the hell happened to voiceover? It's just gone now.
Celebrities.
Yeah, celebrities took it over and destroyed it.
Pretty much.
Unfortunately. That was a good business back in the day, though. It was a lot of fun, don't you think?
Oh,
You did voiceover.
yeah, I did for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then came one of the recessions, and that was the end of that.
That wrapped up all of that stuff. You guys get involved in voiceover as comedians?
I never did.
Never, you never did.
I actually aced myself out of any opportunity.
How did that happen? You gave an opinion?
Well, there was a gentleman. We were talking at the bar one night, and he said, "Have you ever considered voiceover?" And at the
Oh,
time,
that's
I was
nice.
just a punk rock anarchist, man. I was
Uh-oh.
totally rebellion. I go, voiceover, what is that? You know, at some point, when does it stop becoming art and start becoming a resistance to work? I mean, are you really an artist when you say Velveeta melts the creamiest? That's not art. I'm an artist, man. I don't
I
want anything to
understand.
do with it. And he just went, okay. And then I was talking to someone later. I go, you know who he is, don't you? And I go, no. He goes, listen to this commercial, this commercial, this commercial. And all of a sudden I went,
Mm-hmm.
and I went back to him. I said, I'm really sorry. I thought when you asked me, you wanted my opinion. I didn't realize
Whoops.
that's your profession, and I didn't mean to disparage it. Or he goes, oh no, that's okay. I understand. He goes, about 3 days later, though, I had to turn down a craft spot, though.
Oh, God, because you tortured him.
And he goes, so you owe me about 30 grand.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, when I did voiceover all those years back before, again, they called me all these names, and that ended my voiceover career. My children, Andy and our daughter, Alex, as well, were never, ever impressed about any commercial I did. I was one of the top 5 guys in the country, so I did tons of voiceover. What was the only commercial you liked that I did, Andy? Tell them.
Monsters Inc. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Then you were a big shot.
Then that was a big shot.
Well, it's a thing I had heard of.
It's something he had heard
You
of,
know.
and he was very impressed with that.
I love doing voiceover work, but it was kind of, for me, it was sort of degrading.
Why?
Well, because 90% of what I did, I played the nerd,
No,
you
I
know,
suppose
the
yeah,
dweeb,
yeah,
you name it.
Yeah.
And then where it really kind of got to me the most was one day I walked in, they handed me the script, And on the script, I was identified as loser.
No way.
Loser.
Yeah.
Loser.
Wow.
You're a loser.
And I said to the guy, you know how usually the writer is there
Mhm.
helping to produce it, direct it.
Yes.
And I said, you know, comically, I hope, but I said, you could have just said man too. You could have said Mike. You could have said anything. I understand the concept here.
Yeah, why you're an attractive.
I mean, it was like the 50th spot I did where I was the that kind of guy.
Yeah, I suppose.
And I loved it, of course, but that's getting a little too personal.
Well, that business now, unfortunately, like you were talking about doing 30 G's to do a commercial and all the rest of it, nowadays make you about $200.
Really.
Oh yeah, they destroyed that business.
Well,
Destroyed.
Because everybody can do it in their
Yep.
closet.
Yep.
That's exactly. You can do it in your own closet now, so
Yeah.
I don't need to hire
Oh
anyone.
yeah, there's 10 million TikTok stars all waiting for that opportunity.
Yep. It's
Well,
very
that's of
true.
course, and I'm sure along the way, you probably had a lot of people come up to you and say, people say I got a really good voice, and how do I get to this?
Oh, a lot of that.
And the
There's a
reality
lot of
is,
that, yeah.
nobody who aspires to do commercials really does them,
No.
and it's just something that I don't know. You just get lucky in it, and of course, you've got the voice and the timing and all that.
Well, you
But
can
who
either
knew,
do, yeah.
right?
No, I didn't know.
Right.
I was trying to think of the very first commercial I ever did, and I don't remember. I have no
Yeah.
idea what it was. But that was a great business back in the day. It really was. Unfortunately.
Favorite commercial?
Do I have a favorite commercial? Doing McDonald's was good because I did it for about 15 years.
Oh yeah, that had to be nice.
And then, of course, remember how that ended? That's great.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, did the entire, I think we did 18 commercials about this little girl named Sally Bell and how she became a dancer and how she became all these things. And, after winning these dance competitions, the family would always go to McDonald's. And we cut 18 commercials to play on the Olympics. And that was 1980, was it? The reason I'm asking what year
Yeah,
it
I
was.
Let's see, that was 1984.
84. Okay.
Oddly
well,
enough.
Yeah, 84 yet again. Another one, although I got married that year, so that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I get a call. Yeah, Tom, got some bad news for you. It's like, okay, wonderful. So they're only going to run about half the commercials from McDonald's, so they won't be able to just retire after they all run. Said, no, as a matter of fact, they're not going to run any of them. And I
Wow.
said, why are they not going to run any of my Sally Bell commercials for McDonald's? Because a guy just killed 27 people in San Diego at a McDonald's. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
What was his name again?
I don't.
He killed
James
20
Huberty.
James Huberty killed 20. Was it 27?
21.
21 people at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
So no Sally Bell for you, Tom.
Wow.
I said, could I just sneak on and go, and I know some people got shot, but they're still good hamburgers,
Yeah.
Can we do that? No, can't do that either, Tom.
Huh. So they just pulled they just wanted to go away for
Yeah, they
McDonald's just wanted to disappear.
It looked like they were celebrating things and, with those
Mm.
21 people dead. Why would you go to these winners at McDonald's? Let me go kill that. Why would you kill people at McDonald's? I mean, they're there because the food is cheap.
Well, maybe the guy had some sort of heart problem and he traced. No, probably not.
Traced her back to Mickey D's.
I don't know.
How is it? Because I remember when I doing those commercials, the first time I did those commercials, I believe the hamburgers. So this would have been about 1978, 79.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the hamburgers at that time were like 30 cents,
Mm.
I think.
Wow.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And somebody told me now they're like $3.
Yeah.
For a hamburger at McDonald's, $3.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
Very worth
That's
it,
just the
though.
basic hamburger. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's the basic hamburger.
Yeah. You want the Big Mac meal. You're looking close to 10.
10, 15
Wow.
bucks.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You look at some of that stuff, it's amazing. Well, we only got about 10 minutes left, so I want to talk all about
Crash and burn.
Crash and Burn. That's what I want to talk about right now for the next 10 minutes.
It's it's been an incredible. We've only done 2 shows, and it's probably been one of the most incredible
Really?
ones we've ever put on. Yeah, these 3 comics. They just Tony comes in with 27 pages.
What? Jesus.
I over prepared,
Single spaced.
but that's that's the way I do it.
It's a 7-point font.
7-point font. There you go.
Not at my age. I have glasses. That's 15.
And then Erica and Emma, I don't know if they were bluffing us or they were sandbagging us or really they both came in. They said, "Wow, you guys prepared?"
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
So they opened
Two
their
opposite ends.
so
of the
they opened their
spectrum.
notebooks at like 6:00 and start writing stuff, and just killed it.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's just Emma is doing this stream of consciousness stuff that's just
She's great.
superb, Erica is it's an entirely different style, but it's also the same kind of stream of consciousness. So it's like two, it's like good blonde and evil blonde. So the way to look
I thought
at
they
it.
were all evil. So this is
All the blondes.
Ah.
All the blondes.
all I
ladies
can
and
do is
gentlemen.
go on my own personal experience.
I understand, no question. How many years you say you've been doing it?
This is the 13th. This is
13th.
Crash and Burn the 13th.
Thinking back at all the people that you've had on those shows, man, some of those people just blew up. It's all gone very, very well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Pete Lee, Chad Daniels, two
Yeah.
locals that are they're doing really well right now. It's and they all everyone there's been very few people that have said that I never want to do that again.
Why
It's-
wouldn't you want to do it again? It sounded to me like it'd be a ball to do it.
Oh yeah, they all if you ever have a fallout, give me a call. I've got a
Yeah.
list of I wish I could do it more. I wish I had 2 weeks. you
Yeah,
know.
twice a year would be great.
It is interesting that Minnesota has produced so many very successful comedians.
Yeah.
Going back to Proft, my buddy Pat Proft.
Pat Prof is a good writer, man.
Yeah, and
He's a
he,
very
you
good
know,
writer.
he was great at the Brave New Workshop, and then
Mhm.
one day he leaves and he's a star, and then he's writing scripts for
Airplane.
yeah, it's just, and he's still like now because he's he's a man of a certain age now. Mostly what he does is they give him scripts and he just punches them up a bit,
Oh, is that what he does
Yeah.
now?
sends
haven't
him
seen
back,
him in
and
years.
gets his check and goes on to the next one.
I have not seen Pat Proft in years. He still lives in the area, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
He's come in once in a while.
He's one of those guys who was so successful in LA that he was able to move away from LA.
Well, see, that's a good sign. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you can do that, that's a good.
That's when you know you made it.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody once said, yeah, LA is the only place in the world where you move to so you can make enough money so you can leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that to be absolutely true. I almost took a job out in Los Angeles, and at the very last, well, actually, it was because Dave Hamilton didn't want to work there, and now, of course, he works in Palm Springs. So,
No,
but he didn't. Yeah, I talked to him yesterday.
he's moved to Austin.
No, he moved out of Austin.
Oh, and then he went from there to Austin and then back.
and then back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His daughter still lives in Austin.
Okay.
Oh, she lives in Texas. I don't know if she still lives in Austin. but
Yeah.
Dave Hamilton was the guy that hired me at KQRS 40 years ago to do the morning show there. And it was because he and I used to go to Twins games and watch Twins games, and I'd make all these comments about this, that, and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I talked to him. I haven't talked to him in years.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But I talked to him last night. It seems like he's having a good time out there.
Things are
It's
good.
just-
So what's he doing?
He consults some radio stations out there, and we're going to. Let me ask you this question, because it has affected a lot of other things. How do you discern your audience? Because the break between, well, we talked about the fact people under 40 tend to listen to podcasts. People over 50 tend to listen to the radio. There are very few things that those two generations agree on. Do they agree on comedy? I mean, do you have to look at other newer forms of comedy because there's a much younger group coming up?
I've got some stuff that
I bet.
that the older people laugh at. I have to have young stuff, and I've got
It's
an
true.
early show set and I've got a late show set. And
So late shows for the kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and then at Acme they moved that the 8 o'clock show on the weekends to 7 o'clock, so it's 7 and 9:30.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it isn't
That
as much
early
as a
show
split.
must be tough because people were mostly sober then.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but they're also my age. they want to get out of Minneapolis before dark. So
Well, that is pretty much true. Unfortunately, that's still a pretty solid neighborhood over there, though.
oh yeah,
It
is. Nice.
it's a residential neighborhood, so
It
that
is, yeah.
so that there's very little trouble. There's nothing to loot there.
Which is a good thing because I want to go out and laugh and have a couple of drinks or whatever I'm doing. I want to go to have dinner with my wife and I want to go laugh. And why anybody would want to mess with that, I'll never understand. Go commit crime somewhere else. Get the hell out of here. How many? There are 3 big comedy clubs now, I think, in Minneapolis at this time. I mean, they've come and gone with Brave New Workshop and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, Minneapolis, St. Paul still does pretty well in comedy, doesn't it, compared to some areas?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of people for a while. A lot of people were moving here from other places.
I remember that.
Yeah.
because they get a lot of stage time. And,
Yep.
Real friendly, real supportive environment. It's
Well,
comics.
that's good.
Comics get together and write together all the time, and it's not a lot of backstabbing. It's not as cliquish as a lot of other towns.
You mean like in radio? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, you
Austin
wanna
was
get-
very clicky when I started down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
It was because it wasn't a big comedy city at the time. There was one major club and like one small one. So when a new comic started, that just meant less stage time
Mhm.
for the
Ah.
comics that were already there. And
Yeah,
so they
yep.
hated you. And
They
they,
hated you.
yeah, they were like, why are you trying to
Well,
mess
that's
up
too
this
bad.
good thing we have going?
Yeah, I mean, God, I just went through a situation. This guy was complaining on a national basis about the hurricane that hit Asheville, North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
And this guy's going on and on about, well, they deserved it. I took a look at that. They got that college at Asheville, so it's all those conservative assholes.
You buy a
that-
place that close to the beach, you got to expect it.
Yeah, there you go. But this guy's going on and on and on about what a shithole the university in Asheville, North Carolina is because it's so conservative and it's terrible. I've been there a million times. The Biltmore, that whole area. Love Asheville. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
The University of Asheville is one of the most liberal colleges in America. Why wouldn't you want to check and see before you run them into the ground?
Liberal college is kind of like a jumbo shrimp in Army intelligence.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
exactly. I mean, but the guy's just going after the school. It's like, well, at least check to see if you're right, don't you think? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
You would think so. I started to talk earlier about the hurricane.
Yeah.
And
Which one?
Well, both actually.
Both of them. Yeah.
And because one of the biggest fears was that the Milton. I always think of Milton Berle.
Milton Berle. I do too. Every time they say Milton
I
is
know.
coming through, really, Milton Berle's
Uncle
still
Mil-
alive?
Uncle Milty.
Uncle
Yeah.
Milty's still alive?
And if he were alive, he'd still be telling the same old jokes. You know that about
Well, he's going
Milton.
to tell the one about Johnny Carson and the penis. I can guarantee.
Oh,
you that.
that's a classic.
one of the
yes.
greatest jokes ever told.
That's a classic.
I
Oh,
don't. I don't know Johnny Carson and the penis.
But before you
don't?
tell that, I just wanted to say, so people were going to die, and I think it was the mayor of Tampa who said that people, if they're gonna stay there and not get to a shelter, they should write their names on their chest so that when their bodies wash ashore, I mean that it was, and it could have been really ugly. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
I mean, in my friend in St. Petersburg, I mean, they went through 100-mile-an-hour winds, 17 inches of rain in 2 hours.
Wow.
Oh, God.
But
Oh,
but what
God.
saved them was the surge, that the surge that really didn't happen
Yeah.
because you can't
yeah.
predict the surge.
Yep.
And it's all about how the winds are at any given time.
Right.
And but it's amazing how in 24 hours, everyone is. It's just everything has changed. Nobody died so far that I know of, except in tornadoes.
Yeah, and the tornadoes. Yes, that's right.
So all the things that people fear in Florida, like let's say a drag show, that never happened.
No drag show. That's true.
People didn't drown. So I don't know. So I personally, as a liberal, have gone now. I've had to go from saying that this was God punishing the conservatives to those damn conservatives. They did it again.
Yeah, there you go. They dodged a bullet.
I think probably the best thing is just to leave God out of all this stuff.
Probably not a bad idea.
Anyway, the penis.
Yeah, Johnny Carson and the penis.
No, it just popped in my head. I think it was Johnny Carson, but it might have been Steve Allen, but I'm pretty sure it was Johnny Carson. So Milton Berle, there was this long-standing story about the fact that Milton packed a lot of heat, if you know what I'm saying.
Right, and people did not say for a Jew. They just said he had.
No, they didn't say for a Jew.
Right.
That's it. Didn't say for a Jew. So Johnny Carson decides one night live on national television to bring it up. The fact that Milton Berle had a very large penis. It's like, I'm watching this, is like, and Carson says, why don't we do this? Because I don't believe it. You know, why don't you come behind the desk? We can't show it on TV, obviously. But once you come behind the desk, we'll aim the camera away, and you and I will both take out our penises and see who wins.
Come on.
Yep.
They did this on the show.
On the show.
He may have couched it in slightly different, but you know what he was saying.
But the greatest thing is that Milton Berle says, after considering it for a while, he goes, yeah, as long as it's not going to be on camera, it can't be on camera. He goes, well, we couldn't do it on camera anyway. We'll do it behind the desk and all the rest of it. He goes, okay, so two things. It has to be not on television, and I'm only taking on enough to win. I mean, that's pretty damn good. That's a pretty good joke.
And,
right
and let's
there.
face it, men are fascinated by this kind of thing. You know,
Oh, there's no question about it.
I mean, that's why I hated 7th grade so much,
Ah,
because we swam in the pool naked. You know,
Oh,
the boy-
yeah. Oh,
just
yeah.
the boys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so every boy in 7th grade had seen every other boy's penis. The only one who didn't see him was me, because I was blind then.
Which is in long term.
I had to take my glasses off. So
Yeah, you did
literally,
to
I couldn't
swim.
see
Yep.
anyone's penis, but they could all see mine.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
And after
Yeah.
that, and for years, I didn't know why my nickname became Shorty. But
Shorty.
but it's true. You know, you're at a real disadvantage there.
I understand. All right. Any closing words tonight again at
That's
8
it.
o'clock?
AcmeComedy.com. Crash and Burn the 13th. Come out and check it out.
And I still love the fact that this entire 2 hours you guys have been here, it's been Timmy, Tony, and Tommy all in the same studio.
And tiny, if you look at
And
me.
Tiny. There you go. Timmy, Tony, Tiny, and Tommy. Andy, what are you coming up with?
No teas in our family.
No teas in your family at all.
We're shedding the curse.
It's all true. All right, that is going to do it. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Got a picture in my pocket, reminds me of this one was before. Every time I hear the singing, reminds me how you talking